a house burned up. The occupants moved. The owner rented that burned up house for the last 10.5 years for a monthly rent with no windows, with holes in the roof, and living in absolute squalor. Those are the people that I want to go after, not the citizen that, for lack of means or mental ability, has allowed this to proceed. So if we can kind of craft this thing and mold it, blend it into what we're trying to achieve without being a big brother heavy-handed situation, by going through a committee or something like that to evolve this living, breathing document, I think that's what we're trying to achieve. And I have to admit, in my travels around as a supervisor in the last 4 years, I've called in numerous code violations. And Jim and John have acted on them very diligently, including the violations in regards to marijuana. So, gee, maybe it's my own fault I'm getting death threats over the last 2 years. But that's part of all of our job as citizens in a community, too, to be looking out for and not targeting a neighbor because you don't like them. It's the perception in totality and not just a particular piece of argument you have with your neighbor. So I believe we need this ordinance. I believe we need to move forward and not allow the continuation of the history of that's the way we've always done it. Mendocino County will take care of themselves. It's not going to happen. So we need this for the teeth, and you know, just like anything else, it can be tweaked and modified and moved towards the true objective. So just some comments from the chair. Supervisor
Real quick,
Finch.
Mr. Chairman, if I was sitting over there in Frank's and Jim's seat, I've kind of heard of, it's kind of like, you know, we're not talking about changing the ordinance now. We have the ordinance in place. What they're telling us is be prepared, these cases are coming forward to the board. You know, and then I hear some about, well, yeah, we have the ordinance and everything, but wait a minute, we want to slow up on that. What is the clear direction? We need to give these gentlemen the clear direction. Do they need to do the ordinance and have these hearings come before us, or are they going to see the word, well, you know, slow up and back off? We owe it to these gentlemen and their colleagues out there that are doing their job. So we need to give them clear direction, and I think now is the time. And that's what this agenda is all about. This is not about to tweak an ordinance or anything. It's about basically they familiarize with the process. Do we like that process? Are we going to hang there, or are we going to back off? That's what it amounts to. Because you can't put it in committee, because these people are entitled when it comes to they're entitled to hear the full board of supervisors. So you can't do the hearings in a committee. It has to be in front of the full board of supervisors. So, you know, I think that, yeah, we'll probably have a flood of cases to start with, but once we basically go through that initial phase, you know, keep in mind, we haven't done anything there's been accumulations of problems out there for years and years and years. And yeah, it's probably cases, and I would imagine that probably maybe half of them will come to this level before some of them will get the realization that they need to do something. But do we want that to happen, or do you want to tell them to back off, or what do you want to do? I think we've said this ordinance, it has the teeth in it. We have to kind of hold up our end of the bargain. And yes, it may we might have to reschedule an extra meeting or two a year to deal with these. But to me, it's worth it to me. I think it's the most significant environmental problem we have in this county.
Supervisor, I totally agree. My intent was not to forestall any of this. My intent, I think I stated, was to take 3 or 5 of these things, take them through the process, and bring them forward to us, publicize the hell out of them, and put people on notice that past history is past history, and we're moving into a different era here, and we're going to take these things seriously. Full well knowing that the staff, on that 3rd bullet point, the first subsection under that, by working with a code enforcement officer to achieve a workable abatement solution. That's a typical leave it up to the discretion of the officer, first of all, before he's even issuing the citation, just like a law enforcement officer does. And he's making a personal situation to the person, and you know, if you don't take your personal responsibility, we have to move to the next step. So there's several of those things that we're gonna put the person on notice, and I think we need to move ahead with this. Supervisor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I suggested in my comments, and I think Supervisor Delbar suggested something even a little more elaborate than that, which is, yes, we're going forward. No one's backing off on anything. But having you look at some technical aspects of it that might improve the ordinance, and working with council and the executive office and your staff and your expertise, figuring it out and bring us what you need to bring us, and at the same time, you're looking at the ordinance. If it can be improved, let's see how that can happen. I don't know, is there any objection to that? And I think we ought to see, and then maybe ask the public if there are any comments, and we can move on.
Yeah, I'm yet to move to public comment, but the recommended action is the intent of this request is to familiarize the board with the lien hearing procedure
Right.
and the role of the board in nuisance abatement. There's really no action being called
Right.
here.
Right.
And just needed reminded the folks of that. So at this point, I'd like to go to public comment, invite public comment on this issue. It is a drastic change in direction of abatement in this county, and I'd certainly like to hear from any members of the public. Okay, second call for public comment on this. Okay, well, there is no public comment on this. Let's bring it back to the board, and what's the final wishes of the board? Supervisor Colfax.